The first time I heard the word lesbian, I was 10 years old and sitting in church, like any other Sunday. The sermon that day was about hell and who would be there, like murderers and lesbians. I asked my mom what a lesbian was, and she told me that they were girls who liked girls. I liked girls. I thought everybody did. But I wasn't too worried that particular Sunday. I remember specifically thinking, okay, in a couple years, I'm going to go through puberty, and then I'll start liking boys, and everything will be fine. Puberty came along, and with it came my first serious crush and a rapidly growing panic. By the age of 12, I had severe depression and insomnia, and I spent my sleepless nights begging God to please make me like boys so I wouldn't go to hell. When I started 8th grade, my parents put me and my siblings in a private conservative school. And I was really excited because that's where Amy Kaufman went to school. Amy went to my church, and she was so pretty. She was straight, but I had it all figured out because I was going to become straight too. We would be best friends who lived together and hugged all the time. So when I was 14, I finally came out to my cat. She was pretty cool about it. And then I told the neighbor boy, who was a liberal. When I told my parents, they weren't angry at me, but they were as confused as I was. How could this have happened? The summer I turned 15, I was hospitalized for the first time for depression. And after I got out of the hospital, I decided to tell Amy and the youth pastor's wife the reason why I had been so sick. To help me, they started a Bible study for just the three of us. And every week after Bible study, I got to hold Amy's hand when we prayed. I was excited to go to school my sophomore year. My freshman year of high school, I had gotten into theater for the first time, which I loved. And my freshman year, my theater teacher cast me as the lead role in all the plays. There were only like 12 of us to pick from, but still. I knew better than to tell anyone at this school my terrible secret, but Amy told her boyfriend, who told the basketball team, and by the end of the week, it seemed like everybody knew. After that, my theater teacher wouldn't cast me as anything other than an extra, so I tried out for cheerleading, and I was the only girl who tried out who didn't make the team. So instead, I threw myself into my schoolwork, and I got the highest grade in my French class. At the end of the year, they would have this award ceremony every year, and the person with the highest grade would get an award. My French teacher told me that I was going to get the French award. Now, by the end of the year, my parents had decided to take me and my siblings out of this school. My siblings were also being singled out and mistreated by their teachers. But we still went to the award ceremony, and I got all dressed up, and they gave the award to the girl with the second highest grade, who had been disqualified the year before because she was Canadian and spoke French fluently at home. I tried everything I could think of to get rid of these feelings, and I was disgusted with myself. I prayed constantly, I studied my Bible, I learned about ex-gay groups and conversion therapy. I started seeing a Christian counselor who was a really nice guy, and he meant well, but he had no idea what he was doing. He told me that I wasn't gay because Christians can't be gay. Instead, I had OCD, without the compulsive part, but that I was obsessed with women. And to treat this, he wanted me to write in a journal every time I thought about a girl. I was a teenager, so that was all the time. But I tried everything. So when my friend Jennifer suggested an exorcism, I said, okay. We sat on the floor of her room, and she warned me that she was going to speak in tongues and it would be really intense. But it was just weird. When she was done, I looked at this Christian boy band poster that she had on her wall, and I was like, maybe I feel something? But I was lying, which is a sin, by the way. By that summer, I had come to the conclusion that it would be better to be dead than gay. I spent my 16th birthday in the hospital. I made friends with some of the girls there, and I showed them how I could fit into tiny places. We had these laundry bins that we kept in the hallway, and they would hide me in them and push me up and down the hall. They called me Roll Around Genevieve. The doctors and the nurses and the counselors there kept telling me that there was nothing wrong with being gay, and I told them that they were wrong. God had made some sort of mistake, and he was going to fix this. I went to a new school my junior year, and I don't remember much about the beginning of the year because I was very sick. I'd lost weight. I couldn't sleep. I thought God had forgotten me. I ended up in the hospital again, and one of the days I was there, I was lying on the floor of my room, crying, and I asked God one more time to fix this. I asked God to give me a sign that I could change and this would all go away. When I was done, I felt calm. And I decided that I was going to go down to the activity room at the end of the hallway. But when I got to the end of the hall, there was my sign. I must have walked by it 50 times and never noticed it before, but it was right there. And it said, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, maybe God had tried to speak to me before, and I just wasn't listening because I had my mind made up, but this time, it was so clear. This was something I couldn't change. God hadn't forgotten me or made a mistake. He knew exactly what he was doing when he made me. My faith never stopped being a central part of who I am, but I left the church for a long time. I tried some churches over the years, but there was always the fear that my welcome only went so far. I'd be welcome to walk in the doors, sure. Yeah, and I could sit in the pews, and I could volunteer my money and my time, but I couldn't take communion or be in a leadership position or work with children or become a full member. I would never belong in a place like that. But about 4 years ago, I did one of the scariest things a member of the LGBTQ plus community can do, and I walked into a church I had never been to before all by myself on a Sunday morning. And on the Hope Church welcome table were these flyers that said, God loves people who are gay and straight, Republicans and Democrats, Cubs fans and Cardinals fans. And it's that simple. It should be. I walked in that day and I finally found a place where I was welcome at the table. I'm now 32 years old, a whole 16-year-old's lifetime later, and I don't ask God to change me anymore. I ask him to shape me into the woman that he wants me to be. And I know I'm in good hands. Thank you.